Welcome back all. Now I was going to do this video in a live stream format, but that didn't really pan out. We don't get any viewers on this channel anyway, but today I wanted to talk about something incredibly important to me. I was kind of mulling over topics that I could discuss in a video. I've made about 3 videos that I haven't uploaded, one 40 minutes ago, one the other day, and one the day before that. So there's a lot possibly on the way, but there's also quite a lot that I want to talk about, and one of those things is the topic of today's video, and that incredibly important topic is poetry. More accurately, translating your life, transposing those experiences through poetry onto poetry. Poetry is something that's taken hold of me in the last year. It's something that I've used to explain a lot of things in my life. I've gotten really into writing poetry as the last year, and whether or not those poems will be read remains to be seen, or read in a mainstream sort of way, remains to be seen. But I wanted to talk about the kind of value that you get out of poetry, and the power of writing poetry to translate your life experiences. It is something that has opened me up to a new way of a new outlet, if you will, beyond writing it down on a journal or a piece of paper and burning it or throwing it out or making other forms of content. Poetry is a very tried and true, traditional, very potent way to both exaggerate the thoughts and experiences one has, as much to quell them and burn them, discard of them. Now, I tend to write a lot, and I feel like I tend to regurgitate the same themes, and thus my poetry sounds the same. It's something that I'm getting a real feel for, and something that's really helped sitting at uni in one of various cafes or eatery areas, or just sitting there and writing and just doing my thing. It's really been helpful. And while it is frustrating in that I don't really feel completely fulfilled by what I'm writing, I feel like I'm not able to write just that one poem I want to. And while I feel like there are some things that I want to be heard or seen in the words I'm writing, I don't feel comfortable with sharing them. A lot of what I do is free verse, which, don't let anyone fool you, okay? Free verse is fine. In more ways, in more ways than none, it is the most superior form of poetry. It allows you to get out your thoughts uncapped, make your own structure, make your own voice, and put those thoughts to paper. Now, while there is something to be said about the kind of history that you interact with via various poetry forms, there's kind of a level of restriction in writing to a form, and that is something that I feel shouldn't be had in poetry. Poetry is not meant to restrict, it's meant to open up. And when you're sitting there trying to write to the conditions of a villanelle, or trying to make an epigram, or trying to find the right words in your ode, it's not going to work as much as just, here is my voice, here is me, and this is what I'm writing. But what I will say in this video is kind of the things that work for me in terms of inspirations, environments, things like that. And one of those things is just drawing from something. It doesn't have to be a book, it doesn't have to be a traumatic life experience, just something's happened to you, like the frustrations of youth, relationship dilemmas, maybe the lack thereof, just anything really that stands out to you as an irritant or a thorn. It'll really help illustrate your thoughts. Maybe it isn't necessarily the inspiration, but it might be the navigator or the vehicle for which you write. But there's nothing wrong with going the traditional route and grabbing a book or several books. the spike there is not strong. And combining a level of philosophical intrigue with contemporary idiosyncrasies, such as the characters of Sally Rooney. I'm not knocking on Sally Rooney as an author, although her writing does tend to stuff me up. It's really hard to follow sometimes. Or just sticking to, nice little pocketbook of Edgar Allan Poe. Just sticking to the old classics and kind of drawing from something from there. Or just writing freehand like I do. I come out with things that while I'm not comfortable throwing things out here, both because they're not the best and because you don't want your shit stolen, because that's not great. There is something you can write something really beautiful, just at the palm of your hand on your phone, or on a laptop, as I do, or as most people do. But yeah, there's so much you could do. I wrote a little poem here the other day. I do a lot at work, on my breaks, and I'll just, write away, see what comes to mind. I am someone who thinks a lot in words, and whose kind of language is in that kind of literary sense. So the words that come to me are very emotive, and might not necessarily be interpreted as I put them down, but the beauty in poetry is that it's open to everyone's interpretations. You want to be writing stuff that means a lot to you. Don't worry about how it will come off at the end to someone else. So long as it means something to you, and it feels powerful, metaphorical if you wanted to, or literal if you wanted to, someone will find their own meaning in that. That is the real beauty of it. I could share this one actually, just to give you an idea. Fuck it. They say poetry is of anything you write, it's now protected by copyright, just automatically. So let's just give you an idea of I write something and it might not make sense to someone else, but it makes sense to me. Concurrently, someone might find their own meaning in it. This is Take Two. I don't know why it's called Take Two. It just is. I had to cut it right there because there's a great big void on my phone. I dropped my phone a while ago, just blacked out. I can't see it. Shoestrings crossed across our legs and our hearts, like butterflies locked in their cocoons. All love laced round external whimsy, all at the behest of some loon. My will and testimony here, to free you from my madness. But this task's a task I can't ensure, sure as Kilimanjaro is a chore. Lest it's you I will abhor. 6 spring violet candles fun and sins. My words have no meaning, just as love has no redemption, just as the truth has no screening. I toil with our love again, unfurling from twisted be our hands, like dead caterpillars in their tombs. These shall always be just plants. There is a lightning in writing and just the process of it, and you'll find it you create something meaningful to you in such a way that it inspires you to write more, or it inspires you to write less. I've done about 2 complete poetry collections at this point. I say complete, they're only about 30-ish poems or things, so they're rather small. But I like to work by themes, and if not themes, a book with 2 concurrent sub-themes. The first one I wrote and gave out to my friends prematurely was kind of a connection between the Irish Troubles and love as a metaphor, the metaphorical idea of love, especially in that those are 2 things very important in my world. I'm the product of those troubles and the product of love, those troubles, that war, this war, and it's kind of just that. So there's all this kind of marrying between themes that you'll see a lot in poetry, and I'm sure anyone who's written any poetry at all will relate to or understand. And That's another thing. Anything you write that you do in poetry is poetry. It's art. You know, an artist is as much a reflection of their own art as their art is a reflection of them. And if you believe your thing to be art, then hell, it's art. No one can tell you differently. That's just a fact of the matter. So even if you don't feel your words hold meaning to an external audience, just imagine yourself as your own auditorium, projecting the words out when you speak them back onto yourself, and try and imagine yourself as a third person. How would I interpret that? That's enough. That should be enough to actuate that idea that you are not necessarily a poet. I would not consider myself a poet if you just heard that, but enough to be like, yeah, I made this shit, it's poetry, fuck it. But yes, that has allowed me, this vehicle has allowed me to get off a lot of things off my chest that I want to. As much as these videos have, there's a lot of outlets you can find in life. And there's a lot to be said about the power that these books contain to create new books, create meaning from meaning, and the way that you can create meaning from your own experiences and thus create new ones for other people. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've wrote a lot in my life. 2 nearly complete novels will never see the light of day because no. And you know, there's just a lot that can be contained within the pages of a book. Be it a poetry collection, be it a manifesto, be it a biography, be it a piece of fiction. There's a lot that words can say, and there's a million more things that they can do. So next time you're down on your luck or you're feeling really destroyed, pick up the nearest writing instrument you have and just go for it, because you'll be surprised by what you can create. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time, whenever and wherever that may be. Cheers.